Hello and welcome to a tutorial on how to draw the eyes, particularly the human eyes. We're going to start out with my recommendation of what not to do, and my main suggestion for what not to do, particularly if you are above the age of 12 and you want to take drawing seriously, is don't draw an eye like this. That's bad. That's not what you want. That is boring and lifeless and has no real volume or shape to it. A lot of people will draw an eye like this, and if you see a person whose eye actually looks like that, you should probably run away. So what we're going to do is teach you how to draw an eye in a variety of different styles. Anywhere from portrait to comic book to caricature to cartoony type eyes. And none of them will look like this. That is bad. Please don't ever do that. Okay, so we're going to start with a comic book style eye. Now, what I like to do is I like to start out with a rough sketch of the eye shape itself. Now I'm going to use a pencil. It's going to be kind of loose or light because I'm using a pencil and it may not show up well, but I'm going to go over it with my marker here so it'll show up better after I start putting in the details. But I always start out with kind of a rough shape of the overall appearance of what the eye is going to look like. I start with the top of the eye. I'm left-handed, so I draw starting over on my right side over to my left. Now if you're right-handed, you're probably going to start on your left side over to your right. So you're probably thinking, well, this doesn't really look that much different from up there, so what are you trying to teach me? Well, we're going to go not right at the corner of the top eyelid. We're going to go in a little bit and go down and then kind of straighten it out. And then when I get to almost the corner of the other side, I'm going to bring it up like this and create kind of a little backward C shape right here to kind of show where the tear ducts are. Now, you typically don't have an eye without an eyelid. And here's your eyelid itself, but your eyelids tend to fold when they're open, creating kind of this line above the eyelid. Like that, so it looks a little bit more realistic. And then we're going to add some eyelashes. Now if we're doing a female eye that's wearing makeup, you're going to have more eyelashes than you would a male eye. So in a comic book style, we're going to kind of group the eyelashes together like this. And the same for underneath. I don't like to go right at the tip of the bottom eyelid for the bottom eyelashes. I'm going to go a little bit below and start fanning out with the eyelashes. And you don't have to go all the way across. Now that we've done that, we're going to go in and we're going to start drawing the iris and the pupil. Never draw the full iris like this. You want to have it kind of going under the top eyelid so that it looks more lifelike. If you draw it like this, the person looks like they can never blink or they're dead. So if you draw it about 3/4 down like this, it gives a little bit more life to it. And then we'll start drawing the iris. But we don't want to draw the entire iris. We're going to draw, starting with the corner. And then, I don't know if you've ever noticed or not, but when you look at somebody, sometimes the light will hit their eyes in a certain way. And it kind of makes it like a circle inside the pupil. And like that. And then we'll start, because the eyelid up top is overlapping the pupil and the iris, there's going to be more shadow. So you're going to start shading in the top of the pupil or the iris. And do the other side like that. And we'll do another little half circle right here to indicate another light hitting it. And there you go. That's more or less kind of a comic book style eye, female eye. And it's for a male eye, it's pretty much the same, except you're not going to put nearly as many eyelashes on. Unless they're a transvestite, then you would. Maybe even more. I don't know. It just depends on the character you're trying to create. And no eye is complete without the eyebrow. Now we're going to start about here. This is about where the bridge of the nose kind of begins. And then kind of going to create a bit of a circle around it in a way, almost almond shaped. That's the eye socket right there. And then I'm going to start adding in some hairs, a little tuft of hair right here, followed by a line of hairs right here, conjoining to that. Depending on the character, I mean, you might do thinner eyebrow, you might do a thicker eyebrow. It all depends on the character you're creating. And then right about here, right about the last third of the eye, that's where you want to start going in with the tail of the eyebrow. And then you can start adding in some shading. And some shading here, maybe, to help make it look more three-dimensional. Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do, we're almost like, and forgive me for saying this, but I do feel it's true, we're almost like magicians in a way, in that we're trying to create an illusion of three-dimensionality with two-dimensional space. This is just lines on paper. And I'm using the lines on paper to fool you into thinking that this is three-dimensional when it's not. It's just lines on paper. So really, if you keep practicing this, pretty much any of you can do it. I mean, you might even do better than this. I don't know. I mean, art is subjective. It's hard to say. So, like I said, I'm going to go back over this. I think you can pretty well see it, but just in case, I'm going to go over my lines now with the marker so you can see for sure what I did. And right where the tear duct is, I'll draw that, and another line like that. And kind of go in, start adding the shading. The lighter you push down pressure on the marker, the thinner the line you're going to create. I don't know if anybody ever told you or not, but yeah, if you ever find yourself, oh, I got a really thick marker, I can't create thin lines. Well, it's just a matter of the amount of pressure that you put down on the marker itself, on the paper. I'm not saying you'll get a super thin line, but you will get a pretty thin line if you don't do that and do that instead. You'll get a fairly thin line.